covering off the webinar on our corporate area and on our groups area of the system. We are going to start with the corporate area. So if I go into operations, I'm going to go down to corporate, and this will open up the corporate area. Now, the term corporate, don't get too much hung up on the term corporate, as think of it as any company that you really deal with. So any company that we want to track how much business they're doing with us, any company we want to give a special rate to, any company that we want to give direct billing to. Okay, these are the reasons that we're going to be using the corporate area. It's really any company that we're working with. Okay, so when I go into the corporate area, I have a number of corporates in here already. We're actually going to create some new ones today. So I'm going to click Add in the upper right-hand corner. Now the ID, you don't actually need to fill out the ID for any corporate accounts that are going to be booked internally only at your hotel. If you are getting a GDS interface or a Quick Connect interface with us, any of the companies that are going through the interface for the GDS or Quick Connect, they will require a code name. So for example, my Priceline account up top, see how it has a code name. But for any internal companies, we do not need that. Okay, so here we're going to put in our company, Johnson & Johnson. My contact over there is Betty Reed. Their address, 321 their street. Now, if you fill out a zip code from the U.S., it's going to fill out city, country, and state for you. If you put in a postal code from Canada, it is going to fill out these city, country. We have provinces, but state, same thing. Okay. Now, anywhere else in the world, you'll have to click on the drop-down and then choose. We don't have the database for the auto-populate. So if I choose the UK, there's all their cities. If I choose Australia, there's all their, I think their provinces or territories there as well. Okay, but otherwise, we have the zip or postal code. In the attached note, this attached note is not going to show up to the guest, but it is going to attach to the reservation for the guest. It's more of a note for your reservation agent and for your front desk agent. So here I'm going to say all charges are to the individual. Or you can put pay on own or individual credit card, whatever makes sense there. Okay, I'm going to go to folio number. On folio number, if the guest is paying for room and tax, it is folio 1. If the room and tax is being direct billed, it is folio 8. So in this case, because it's all charges to the individual, I'm going to do folio 1. Put in the phone number. We can put in business number, fax, email as well. Okay, I'm going to click Post in the lower right-hand corner. We've now completed that company. Now, you'll also notice that we have a Rates tab. Ignore this Rates tab. Your trainer will have talked to you about the Rate Wizard area. The Rate Wizard is probably about 9 months old in our system. It's a new way of doing our rates, and it is a much quicker, more convenient. We have more functionality in that area as well. I'm getting a message from one of the participants that my sound is cutting in and out. I'm just wondering if it's on their computer or if anyone else is having any issues. If you are having any issues, please throw it. Sounds good? Okay. Thanks, Dana. Patrick, I believe it might be perhaps your internet connection on your side, unfortunately. Okay, so let's continue on here. We have Johnson & Johnson. Again, ignore this rates area. I'm going to show you how you attach the rates in the Rate Wizard area in just a moment. So that's our first type of company. We're going to add in our second company. So I click Add. Okay, in the company name, Mosier Painting Okay, here I'm going to say DB room and tax, right? So direct bill room and tax, or room and tax to be direct billed, room and tax to the city ledger. Again, whatever kind of terminology you guys are used to. I'm also going to put another note here. I'm going to say this company gets free parking. So maybe we charge for parking regularly, but these guys get it free. Okay. So because the room and tax is going to be direct billed, I'm going to choose folio 8. We're going to put in the phone number. Okay, so because the room and tax is going to be direct billed, we need a city ledger account. Now the city ledger area is a totally different area of the system, but we do have it connected here that you guys can kill two birds with one stone, in that you can create the company and create the city account at the same time. So here I'm going to click on Has City Account. If I click on the drop-down, Roomkey is then searching in the City Ledger area to find this account. But if I'm creating a new one, we have the little button here, Create New Account. I'll put in Mosier Painting Inc. Now the credit limit, this is typically set by your credit manager or accounting. As a tool in Roomkey, you just want to make sure it's high enough to cover all outstanding balances at any given time. Credit limit as a tool in Roomkey really becomes useful when we're unhappy with a company and we're taking away credit. Then we use that as a tool. So just make sure it's high enough for any outstanding balances. If it's not, what happens is, let's say on Sunday morning the agent goes to check the guest out, but there's not enough credit, the agent will not be able to check the guest out to direct bill. Okay. I'm going to click Post in the lower right-hand corner, and that is our second type of company. So here the company has room and tax being direct billed, so we choose folio 8. It's really just a way of hiding that room and tax on folio 8 away from the guest. When you see it in action when we go through the reservations, it'll make more sense as well. Here we have the city ledger account attached to it. And then the first method is folio 1, no city account, because the guest is paying for it themselves. Now, this is how we originally designed our corporate area to work, but there is a third type of company in between, and it's really our the third-party OTAs that are out there. The third-party OTAs, online travel agents, such as Priceline, Orbitz, Expedia, they typically do a net rate program. When you do the net rate program, they're charging the guest and you're charging that company a net rate. Typically, the reservation will flow through with a one-time use virtual credit card. So I'm going to click Modify on Priceline, and what we do it a little bit different. We're going to send the room and tax to folio 8, but we are not going to create a city ledger account. I don't want to send it over to the city account. What I'm going to say here is post payment on virtual card to folio 8 for room and tax. So again, this note, these instructions show up on the individual reservation for your front desk agent on what to do. And we're going to cover this when we get to reservation and front desk training once again. So those are really the three types of company that I would have in the system. So once I have my companies in here, Johnson & Johnson Mosier Painting, I'm going to close out of here. We're going to go back into system configuration. We're going to go to Rate Wizard. Here I have a standard corporate rate. My standard corporate rate is 10% off of my best available rate. I'm going to click Edit down below. I'm going to go to the Corporates tab. Click the little plus symbol. And here you can see I've already given the standard corporate rate to quite a few companies. So I'm actually going to add Johnson & Johnson to the list. They will get the standard corporate rate. I click Update. And I close out. I then go down to our preferred corporate rate. We're going to edit. We're going to go to the corporate area, click the little plus symbol, and this one is going to be given to Mosier Painting, Inc. Click Update. Move on. Now, for the ones like the Orbitz net rate, that's only going to be connected directly to Orbitz. If there is any companies out there that have a very specific rate, so for example, Weyerhaeuser. So let's say that Weyerhaeuser gets a rate of $68.25. They're the only ones that get this contracted rate, the only ones that will ever get this rate. I would create a specific rate for that company so that you can attach it right to that corporate profile for Weyerhaeuser. Okay? And as one side note, if I go into the corporate area, I have one corporate rate that is attached to all these individual companies. If you are doing a GDS interface with us, and all of these companies are also going to be sold on the GDS for you, and they each have the corporate rate, you will actually have to build a rate plan for each company. Okay, because we can only talk on a one-to-one basis with the GDS interface to those companies. We can't have one rate plan, such as corporate, going up to each one of those companies. So it only affects you if you're putting these companies up on the GDS. Okay, otherwise you can use one rate plan for all of them. Okay. Okay, now this is jumping ahead a little bit. But if we go back into system configuration client types, and your trainer would have kind of covered this in your first session when you talked about rates. Here we have the corporate code accessing the corporate area. So when I click on New Reservation, I'm going to click on the client type dropdown, choose corporate. And again, we're going to do a full webinar on reservation, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here. Here I find the company. So for example, let's go to Johnson & Johnson. Click refresh. So here I should be seeing the standard corporate rate. Indeed I do. If I go over to guest info, this is where I see that note. All charges are to the individual. So now let's switch that over to Mosier Painting. I'm going to refresh. We should now see the rate switch over to the preferred corporate rate, which we did. And under guest info, now it's the direct bill, room and tax. This company gets free parking. Now, for the third-party OTAs, I'm going to go back into system configuration client types. And we recommend as a best practice to create a different client type for your OTAs. So I'm going to click New, even though I have one. I would click New, and you can call it OTA Net Online Travel Agent, or you can call it Third Party Net. Some people like that, or Third Party, whatever makes sense to you. So I would do OTA Net. That's what makes sense to me. OTA Net. We're going to access the corporate area once again. So again, even though the online travel agent is really a different type of company, don't get hung up on the term corporate. It's just a company that we deal with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the rate. When we click on hide rate, it hides it on two areas. It hides it on the confirmation. Now, for an online travel agent booking, when someone books with Expedia, they're not actually getting our confirmation. So the fact that we're hiding it on the confirmation doesn't really matter. The second area, though, that we do hide it is on the registration card. When the guest comes to check in, we still want them to sign the reg card, but we do not want them to see that net rate that the online travel agent is getting. Okay. Again, I'm going to review this again when we get to the reservation front desk training. This is just an intro to it. I would click post and carry on. So I already have my OTA net here. And so what happens is when we do the linking for you, we'll link all the OTAs to go through this client type. If you guys are not using our interface, then when you're making the bookings for this, you would just have to click on New Res, OTA Net. Now, all the companies are still going to show up in here. You just know that this is for your Expedia, your Orbitz, your Priceline, and whatnot.